Yeah, we are
What
live.
about now?
Suban ma'am, go ahead.
Okay. So, good evening, everyone. Welcome to Leads. So, as we promised, we are back with our series on sexual awareness. So, today we will be discussing about Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act, which is also known as POCSO Act 2012. And today we are very fortunate to have eminent speakers from diverse backgrounds. So, here I welcome Kushalappa, Head Policy and Community Integration at Enfold Proactive Health Trust. Welcome, Kushi.
Hello?
Welcome, Khushi.
Hello?
Hello, can you hear
Hello,
us?
can you hear us?
Hello?
Hello,
Hello?
can you hear us?
Testing?
I guess Khushi is facing some technical issues. You can go ahead and introduce other panelists
Yeah.
while it gets sorted.
Testing?
So I am now welcoming Ms. Kalpana Dwivedi, Principal St. Joseph's High School, CBSE, Panavel, Navi, Mumbai. Welcome, Kalpana.
Thank you, Miss Suman.
And
Thanks for inviting me.
yes, welcome. And now I welcome Ms. Shweta Sharma, Resource Person, CBSE. She's PGT Psychology, Social Sciences. Welcome, Shweta.
Thank you, Major. It's a pleasure
And
being here.
last but not least, I welcome Ms. Mukta Joshi. She's a career and behavioral counselor and soft skill trainer and NLP practitioner. So welcome, Mukta. Now, I request my co-host Soumyata to set the context. Soumyata, over to you.
Yeah, hello, good evening, everybody. We are here today for a panel discussion on protection of children from sexual offenses. Child sex abuse is one of the most significant risks being faced by children. More than half of victims experience trauma that dramatically increases their risk of post-traumatic stress disorder, depression, anxiety disorders, suicide, substance abuse, teenage pregnancies, and school dropouts. These consequences, in turn, can lead to poverty, homelessness, criminal behavior, and a loss of potential of life as an adult. Schools are an important social institution outside family which children have consistent ongoing contact with. Therefore, it is well suited for identifying endangered children. Today, most schools are becoming effective participants in prevention and intervening in efforts towards reducing this complex problem of child sex abuse. Let me bring forward some statistics so that it becomes more believable. As per NCRB data, the number of cases registered for child abuse was 8,904 in 2014. It increased to 14,913 in 2015. In 2017, it increased to 32,608. And further, in 2018, it went to 39,827. 94.8% children were raped by someone known to them, out of which 35.8% were neighbors and 10% were direct family members. In 2018, 21,605 children were raped, out of which 21,401 were girls and 204 were boys. Further, in global compilation of reports of child sex abuse, material found online, India stands number one with a contribution of 11.5%, that is 19.87 lakhs of reports, followed second by Pakistan. Hence, it becomes imperative that leads through the platform they have spread awareness on POSCO and various aspects, and we have curated very carefully a great panel today here for discussion. So we'll start today. Suman ma'am, please go ahead and ask the first question.
Okay. Hi, Khushi. We are audible to you. I think she's not.
Khushi, can you hear us?
Now I can. Can you hear
Right.
me?
Yes, we can. We
Yes.
can hear you now.
Welcome.
Welcome.
Welcome, Khushi. Welcome.
Thanks.
Welcome to Leads. So, Khushi, first question to you, being from the foundation. Please tell us about what is POCSO Act and what offenses are covered under the Act?
Okay. So POCSO stands for Protection of Children from Sexual Offences Act and was enacted in 2012, November of 2012. And the reason why POCSO was enacted was because there was no legislation other than the Indian Penal Code that covered sexual offences. And the Indian Penal Code itself only protected or was able to respond to women who faced rape, specifically rape, or what was considered as outraging the modesty of women. So there was Section 376 under the Indian Penal Code, and there was Section 354 for outraging the modesty of women. So girls, to some extent, were there could be a case that was booked under the Indian Penal Code before 2012. Boys were not covered under any act except for Section 377, which was considered as unnatural offense, which translates to sodomy. So when POCSO was enacted, the POCSO, first of all, is a gender neutral act, both in terms of the offender and in terms of the victim as well. And the other thing about POCSO is that it has brought in a lot of child-friendly procedures, and it defines sexual offenses in a very varied and in a very detailed manner. So what POCSO has defined is both contact sexual offenses and non-contact sexual offenses, which range from penetrative sexual assault. So there is penetrative sexual assault, there is aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which is penetration of any orifice of a child by any object. It's no longer penile penetration, and earlier it was penile, peno-vaginal penetration was the only thing that was considered. POCSO has broadened the definition of sexual offenses and made it any object, and the penetration, when we talk about, doesn't necessarily have to be complete penetration. Even surface penetration of the anus, the vagina, or the mouth are all considered as penetrative sexual assault. It has also defined aggravated penetrative sexual assault, which there are certain categories in which penetrative sexual assault is considered as aggravated, and they are some of them. There are several definitions for aggravated penetrative sexual assault. I'm just defining a few. One is if it's a close family member, and the definition of family member is not restricted only to the parents. It's the parents or the grandparents, any relative through blood or through marriage, and any person who's a partner, a long-term partner of the parent. If the child who has faced the assault is below the age of 12, if the child faces grievous injuries following the assault, if there is mental or physical injuries following the assault, it becomes aggravated. If this has happened multiple occasions, it becomes aggravated. If the child contracts any sexually transmitted disease or HIV, it becomes aggravated. If the girl becomes pregnant following the assault, it becomes aggravated. So like this, there are several other definitions. Of course, the most important thing, if the assault is done by a person in a position of authority, so a police officer, an army officer, or a Navy officer, anyone from any of the forces, a state, any government official, all of these categories become aggravated offenses. A person in a medical facility, like a doctor, would be aggravated. A doctor or a nurse or anybody in a hospital would be aggravated. Anyone in an educational institution, including the conductor, the ayah, the caretaker, all of these become aggravated penetrative sexual assault. The reason why there is a distinction between penetrative and aggravated penetrative is because the punishments are varied. Following the 2016 case, 2018 cases, they have also brought in death penalty for aggravated penetrative sexual assault for children below the age of 16. But that comes with a host of challenges. We won't talk about that now. The second offense that's described is sexual assault. So sexual assault is when there is no penetration, but there's touching of any of the private parts, the genitals or the breast, with sexual intent. So a medical person examining a child does not become sexual assault, but when there is a person who's, let's say, examining the child in the absence of the parent and beyond what is necessary in that particular situation, would be considered as sexual intent. So even if it's a caregiver or a parent, if there is sexual intent, it becomes sexual assault. And in sexual assault as well, there is an aggravated category, based on the same things that I spoke about for penetrative sexual assault. Then there is sexual harassment, where showing a child pornography or making inappropriate remarks to a child, stalking a child, either online or physical, blackmailing a child, all of this would be considered as sexual harassment. And then there is the use of a child in pornography. So using a child in a sexual act and filming that child and uploading that child, or even keeping it for private circulation, would be considered as using a child for pornography. The other punishments under POCSO itself are if a person is aware of this. Today, any sexual offense against a child is mandatorily required to be reported to nothing less than the jurisdictional police station. So either the Special Juvenile Police Unit or the jurisdictional police station needs to be reported, and a complaint needs to be submitted. If I have information about a child facing sexual violence and I don't report it to the police, there is a punishment against me. So a school management, or the staff of a school, or staff of a hospital, where if they examine a child and they suspect that the child has faced sexual violence, they are also required to report it to the police. So that's the other thing, mandatory reporting. Then there is a category for false complaints. In the event that it is found that a person wrongly alleged someone of a sexual offense, there is a punishment under as a false complaint as well. I think these are the broad categories of the definitions of punishments under POCSO.
Thank you, Gushi.
Right, thank you so much. So now my next question would be for Kalpana. What steps do schools take about educating the teachers, students, and parents about sexual abuse and how to handle it?
Ma'am, it's very clearly mentioned in CBSE Act that a school should have a POCSO committee, in that which the school principal plus the coordinator, one male, means higher class, you can say higher grade, 10th or 12th, whichever the school is, 10th standard or 12th standard, one male child and one female child, plus the one advocate, one person from NGO, we have to constitute. And every CBSE school, and I think other state board schools also, are keeping this norm. Now, training, yes, of course, for the lower grades, good touch, bad touch, such type of training we keep in our school, so that first standard or Montessori children in a playway method, in saying that if you touch these places are not good for touching for someone else other than your parents, like that we train them. So, and the teachers in, you can say the teachers, then again they teach the children, okay. And 5+, yes, of course, gender sensitivity, then you can say that sexual education, all these things are given. Plus, first the teachers are trained, and then the teachers in turn take, and even the counselors are there in the school, in-house counselors are there, they also take the classes. So these all things are there, what we do.
What are the challenges that you face? Procedures are in place and we're supposed to do this, but I'm sure there are many challenges, and maybe you are short on some resources. What are the challenges that schools face in implementation of these guidelines?
Ma'am, definitely some parents becomes aggressive, like accepting the fact it is really a challenge especially for the principal to make the parent understand. Okay, so we have to first, intervene the child. Then, and directly you cannot ask the child, correct? We cannot ask the child directly. So you have to first, friendly behavior, then the child should be comfortable. And definitely we take the help of the counselor. Counselor becomes, a bridge among the parent, child, and educator. So all these things, yeah, definitely challenges are there. First, to make them understand. That is the biggest thing, okay? And you can observe these things because if something, you can say, is not natural, okay? So if the child behavior is very extreme or like destructive, or the marks are getting down, so definitely the teachers come and report to us. So once it is reported to me or as a principal, so we ask the counselors to observe those classes. And then the counselor, the observation report, and then we study, and then we call the parent, then one by one, first say both the parents are called, then individual parents are called, and then thus the things happen. So it is time-taking procedure, and definitely counselors are there, which we definitely becomes the bridge among the parents and the educators.
Right.
So now I would like to ask Shweta. So Shweta, can you just tell us about how, like, if school identifies a child is being sexually abused, and then what are the school's responsibilities towards the child and the family?
You're on mute.
Please unmute.
Audible now?
Yes, yes.
Yeah. Yes, the question asked about the school's responsibility, it goes a long way. But as Khushi was talking about the POCSO Act, the first and foremost thing is to report immediately. That is the legal binding, as Khushi was talking about it. But school goes way beyond all of this, because once a child has come to the teacher, he has come or she has come as somebody to whom he can confide in. So it's very important that you believe the child and you stay calm in those situations. You cannot show your aggression or your anger in front of the child, or have a feeling of disgust on your face that why is my student undergoing all this? Because see, first and foremost, if you're believing the child, means you will not let the child know that it's something that is very wrong, and you have to ensure that the child is comfortable every time with you. So you have to provide a safe and a private place where you can talk to the child, and most importantly, you will not be judging the offender and the offense. Also, you will not investigate the child's allegations, because your first priority would be to ensure that you report it immediately to the management, whatever hierarchy you have in your school set. Besides that, the legal action will take place. But also you have to ensure that the disclosure has to be handled with discretion. That is very important, because see, it is mental health also, and the child has already undergone something, right? So we have to understand that we are able to provide a friendly and safe word space for the children, and offer opportunities to discuss individually with them, right? Because of what I see it as, school is the primary responsibility of care and welfare of the student. But once, as we come to know, we have to be very careful of how we are handling. There has to be discretion. And for the school, I feel it is very important that they have clear procedures and programs for the child protection. They should designate specific skill, motivation, and knowledge-based individual in their school, which is a psychologist, a counselor, and act upon it as such that I feel prevention would be better than cure. It's only when such a thing has happened that you have to work around it.
So Shweta ji, sorry to interrupt, but when
No,
you
no.
said it has to be discreet, you said,
Yes.
So I agree that it has to be discreet because a lot of things involved in it. But Khushi also mentioned like it has to be reported. Now there is a conflict,
No.
Family
That is the first thing I'm saying.
No, reporting
First
to the
thing
management is fine. Now I would like to invite.
You have to bring the parents.
Yes,
You
I
have
got.
to bring the parents into it.
True.
Right.
So, but then parent and the child, they don't want to report ahead other than school management. So how to handle it? And Kushi, I would like to know your perspective on this. If the family is not comfortable to report it to further authority, so how it should be handled?
I just want to put out there, first of all, that as per the 2018 National Crime Records Bureau data, 94% of the offenders of reported cases are known people.
True.
Just keep in mind that 94% of the reported cases are known people, of
Known
which
people.
9.4 is family members. And the reason why it's 9.4 is because most of the sexual offenses that happen within the family go unreported.
True.
And the reason why they go unreported is because we as a society, now I'm not talking only about India, I'm talking globally. Reporting a sexual offense anywhere in the world is not easy, and so much more in India because of sex and sexuality being such a taboo, people being uncomfortable about discussing these things, people being uncomfortable to talk to their own child. So when a child comes and speaks to a close family member or a caregiver or a teacher or a counselor, the immediate reaction is, oh my God, what do I do with this information? And most of the time, despite POCSO being around for the last 8 years, even now people, including stakeholders involved in the implementation of the act, try to tell people, "Arey, this is a family matter, yaar. Koi baat nahi. Isko,
Yeah.
matlab, let's. Why don't we talk about this and make sure this person never comes across the child?" That is not possible. 94% known people, teachers, neighbors, parents, family members, tuition. I mean, you name it, and the person, there is a category of person that has offended, conducted, sexually offended a child. So when there's society is resisting this, the stakeholders are uncomfortable, and sexual crimes are such a private crime that very rarely do we have any witnesses, very rarely do we have evidence. The kind of sexual offense that we read about 2 weeks back, where this 19-year-old girl passed away also in the Hathras, in the UP incident, those kind of incidents are not as common as the sexual, the touching, the fondling, the things that happen in a known environment. Those are much higher, and the effect on a person who's facing a violent sexual crime as against something that's fondling and molestation can be the same. The emotional and the kind of impact that it has at the short term and the long term can be the same. So given all of these things, reportage is very, very low. We are talking, according to a 2007 study, 53% of Indian children are supposed to face sexual crimes. 53%, and boys much more. Boys more than girls, and nobody wants to wake up and smell this reality about boys being sexually offended, because we expect our boys to protect themselves. We expect, yeah. So even the parents don't want to say ki acha mere bacche ke sath aisa hua hai. The way we bring up our boys and girls is different. So when we're talking about sexuality education, there also has to be gender education with adults as much as we're doing with children.
No, it has to be a continuous process of education at different ages with different kind of exposure. And the concept of being strong in our society is very skewed. We really do not know the right definition of strong. And here I want to bring out another point, which I would like Kalpana and Khushi to address. Many a times when, as Suman brought out, when these sexual offenses take place and they are from within the family, there's extreme amount of pressure on the school management to, manage their image, because now the media really goes far and, it spreads the word pretty quickly. And the parents want to also shove it under the carpet because ghar ki baat hai, izzat and all those aspects coming. Now here, as you covered that people want to, just like push it forward. Similarly, in schools, there is a tremendous pressure to manage the image of the school, to do the, damage control. And that's where I feel when parents and schools both get in the mindset of damage control and putting things behind a carpet or a curtain, the interest of the child goes down. Then it is more about the management of image which goes up.
Very true.
So how do you handle it? And what are your perspectives on this? Starting with Kalpana and then Khushi, you can add on this. Unmute yourself, yeah.
Yeah. See, when it comes, till now it has not been reported anything. Only like beating.
But
or
we have seen cases in past. I don't want to take names of schools, but we have seen cases in past. There are international schools where these things have happened. Yes.
Yeah. So it definitely it is. What you are saying is a fact. But we have to come out of these things. When you are educator, you are handling a position in the society, people are looking forward, okay, and your responsibility towards your child. Because when we talk about a principal is actually mother of the whole, whatever the number of students are there in the school.
But she
okay?
also has to answer
So
the
we have to
management
take
and
it.
handle them.
Definitely, then that is, that is the way you handle both of them. Yes, definitely, I do understand. But that is again, ये आपकी कला होनी चाहिए ना कि आप किस तरह से चीजों को रखते हो, है ना?
Absolutely, yes.
So that we have to do it. Sitting means administration is not simply working on the facts and figures only. A lot of other things are there where we have to manage. Yeah, definitely we have to manage. But again, our responsibility is towards our children first. And the educator has to privatize these things. Okay, that, as I told you, we cannot, give the counseling or the training of the parents, correct? But if such cases happens or any abuse we come to know, we call the parent, as I told you earlier also. We call first, we see, sometimes it happens that the mother is not very comfortable in front of the husband. Okay, so first we intervene the couple, and then husband separately, wife separately, then child separately. And again, it's a long procedure. Definitely, as I told you, counselors do help us. Counselors are there, in-house counselors are there.
Right. So I would
And
just
it
like
is-
to add to this that, a school can earn so much more credibility if they handle the case, genuinely, and they report it on time without caring much about the image of the school.
Yes,
The image of the
yes.
school all automatically will enhance and will earn trust if they handle a case in a sensitive and a very objective way. Kushi, what's your take on this, and what are the issues that you face with schools and parents when they just don't want to report the issue and are more worried about the so-called social image and pressure?
So in 2014, ashamed to say that Bangalore had a series of sexual offenses that were reported from educational institutions of well-reputed chains of schools. And the first response of the school was to not report it and to take the parents into confidence and say, "Ki, we will let that person go." And then when the matter did come out, there was trial by media. I understand where a school is coming from. So if it's a chain of schools, I know the impact on the various other branches of that school, the backlash that the other teachers and other management of the same chain faced in the city and across the country. But like you said, if the response of the school is to it's not like the school abused the child. There was one individual, and there is a law that can be resorted to. There is a system. There are child friendly procedures in place, and encouraging people to report is much more of value than trying to brush something under the carpet. We know that sexual abuse is happening across the board, and this is not only by the staff and management of the schools. Peer-to-peer abuse is happening, peer-to-peer exploration is happening, and then seniors to juniors abuse is happening. And until we are willing to accept that young people are exploring, young people are touching, fondling, and young people are actually engaging in sexual acts, even schools don't want to face up to that right now. And schools, like ma'am said, they don't even want sexuality education. And here we're telling children, if you are in a relationship with someone, you can go to jail. So unless we start having these open conversations and open dialogues, this issue is not going to go away. So for schools to say that, yes, the school didn't abuse the child, and the school is taking a position, the management is taking a position to say that we stand by this parent, and we will support the investigating agency in whatever way possible and in every possible manner, that brings a lot more credibility to the school than being found out later and then the media conducting the trial and the public taking out candlelight marches. Those are much more damaging to a school than
damage the system.
Absolutely.
So,
Suman ma'am.
yeah, so I would like to bring in now the counselor perspective here. Now I request Mukta. Mukta, just tell us how can we I mean, it's a biggest crime, and children are facing a lot. So how can we educate our children about the sexual abuse and provide them safe and secure environment?
Yeah, I just want to add on what Kalpana ma'am has said. Ki from class 5, till 5, we go to classrooms with and we enact. And generally we ask them ki if you see unknown person, like child goes to market and the dog is there and dog is barking. So these kind of a thing we are usually asking the kids कि अगर आप unknown लोगों को देख के तो आप कैसे करोगे? अब डॉग आपके सामने है, डॉग आपको जानता नहीं है, बट व्हेन ही सीज यू ही बार्क्स एट यू ना, he doesn't let you touch the, so it means he is showing his insecurity. In a same manner, we will ask the child if butterfly comes on your hand, so it's a good touch bad touch kind of a thing, that butterfly will feel that insecurity, so when you try to, so he will run away or she will fly away. So these are the things, first to 5 onwards, we go in the classrooms, we talk about it, and do not talk to your bus drivers much. Don't go closer to them. In fact, when कुछ cases में I have realized कि बच्चों को parents ऐसे ही local buses में भेज देते हैं, like places like small places, they don't even know drivers कौन है. School drivers are different thing, but local buses and all, there also I found kids are when they come to you and they are not talking for a long, then we realize something is wrong. When we call up parents, then we talk to parents ki don't be so irresponsible, you have brought this child on the earth, you are responsible for him or her, तो आपको उसको बिल्कुल protection के साथ भेजना है. Because I got to know the bus driver was trying to do many bad things, conductor also keeping the child on a bus के उसके ऊपर and fondling with the vaginal things. तो उससे क्या है, बच्चा is feeling uncomfortable, but वो नहीं disclose कर रहा है. But the thing is पेरेंट्स को जब बताया जाता है, बट दे डू नॉट हैव रिसोर्सेज कि वो तो मैं उनको यही सजेशन देती हूँ कि
मुक्ता मैम, एक मैं आपको इंटरवेन कर रही हूँ. होता क्या है कि कभी कभी केसेस में ऐसा भी देखा गया है कि जैसे कि वैन्स भी चलती है ना, प्राइवेट वैन्स भी चलती है, लेकिन हमारा कंट्रोल किस पे है? हमारे बस ड्राइवर पे, हमारी सारी हिस्ट्री उनके पास, करेक्ट, वी कैन कंट्रोल एनी टाइम. लेकिन जैसे प्राइवेट वैन्स वगैरह होते हैं, बच्चा कह रहा है कि मैं नहीं जाऊंगा, रो रहा है, चढ़ने के लिए नहीं मना कर रहा है, मींस ही इज नॉट एट ऑल मींस अग्रीइंग टू, बच्चे को जबरदस्ती पेरेंट्स भेज रहे हैं. Then we came to know, then we intervened. Why? Because we don't want to go in this driver's way.
Yeah.
So it happens. It's a very normal thing which we face.
Yeah, and this is small like case I've told you about regarding, but like 5th onwards, we take sessions, we go to different classes, and we give lectures on respect your body. So body is not your only eyes, and when we talk about eyes and all, we are not feeling ashamed of. But when your private private parts are supposed to be taken care, few of the cases क्या होता है कि in the school atmosphere also, kids also घर पे जो देखा होता है, they play with roles जैसे होते हैं ना, so they are not knowing how to respect their body. So we talk about that also. In the classrooms, I request all the teachers, do not give lectures in front of the board only. Move around. You are not knowing in the classroom what is happening at the last bench, so you have to be you have to reach the student, because at the last benches either they are very smart or either they are divyangs. There is a kind of things which are happening which are not letting the other child concentrating on the particular, because जब performance poor आती है, child is at the last bench and it comes to counselor, then we have to look around कि क्या कारण हो सकता है. When we call the child and when we speak to, low self esteem की चीजें आती हैं, child tells us gender, as you said, gender sensitivity, so there we get to know, okay, something is going in the classroom. Somebody is overpowering, bullying is happening, and the child is victim. So we are supposed to vulnerability, we have to explain them. So
right, Mukta, I just want to bring out one aspect from you and Shweta both. First I'll request Shweta, and then you can contribute to it, add on. So how do you encourage this communication from the child to parent openly? You are talking about how you're trying to educate them. so that they about it and provide them a safe environment. But as you said, that the biggest hindrance is communication between the parent or the teacher or the caretaker. So as a teacher, Shweta, starting from you, how are you inculcating this trust in the child that he or she is empowered to talk to you openly?
See, first of all, as we were talking about it earlier also, and I said that you have to provide a very safe and friendly environment to the child. And it is not only just one teacher or the biology teacher or the social science teacher, it is each and every teacher who is interacting with the students. It has to be ensured that the child feels comfortable coming and talking to you. When you discuss in the class, it is not only your subject. It is very important that every day you take out 5 minutes from your class timetable and discuss everyday issues also with your children. That ways, when you have a class discussion and you are vigilant in the class and you're paying attention to how each and every child is reacting to your topic, and topic should be everything, whatever is happening around. Like it becomes like a general knowledge question also, or something that is being related to your subject. Do talk about that. That will help the children that, okay, this is not only bookish knowledge, we are being updated about whatever is happening presently in our society, whether it is national or international level. Those discussions are very important. And talking and also sensitizing the parents through all when you have group discussions in the class and when you are having workshops, then those workshops should not be meant only for the teachers, because it's a triangle: students, teachers and parents, all three together. When we are having discussions in the school, that helps them. And as far as children are concerned, they will always come and talk to you when you're giving them that kind of a space wherein you are making them comfortable. And you are vigilant also, to the extent that I feel, Samyukta, that see, there are children who are talkative and you can figure out that something is wrong. But there are some children who are on their own, who like to stay alone. For such children, the art teachers play a very important role when they are checking into the creativity of the child. Because through their creativity, they may be telling you things that they are not able to speak. So the role comes for all of them, not only just for the class teacher or one specific subject teacher, right? And right now, when Mukta was talking about these things, I feel that as parents, they also need to be very aware and sensitized about this POCSO Act and know that what all is there into it. And for that, time to time workshops by the school helps the parents and the students.
Absolutely. We come to that. Mukta, what's your perspective on this quickly before?
Yeah, see, administratively, we've got this POCSO Act, but it depends upon the execution. Very important the execution is, and how you actually take it and feel that it is my responsibility, the case has come to me, how to handle it, and the result has to be there. Now, as ma'am Ms. Shweta was telling that key workshops hona chahiye, we do it. And after those sessions only, we kids come out of that kind of a thing, which actually helps them when they grow as a teenager or as an adolescent. Otherwise, it becomes a chain of lower self-esteem. So these sessions are very important, definitely. I think parents, like you must have heard this incest term.
Absolutely, yes.
So
yes.
as we know, when we keep such workshops for the parents, they get to know that this is an offense, and if it is there with them, they are supposed to go to some doctor, visit psychiatric, and it will help them, and medication can be help them, so that the harmony can bring in the home. Otherwise, I have handled one case which I'll tell you. Penetration was there, but you cannot, the child was telling mom, papa all the time. She was not performing well in the classroom, and I asked her, as ma'am said, friendly and all. And as a counselor, you are supposed to be good patient listener, and analytical skills should be there. It should not be one side judgmental kind of a thing. Child has told and you
Absolutely, yes,
get
yes.
against to the parent. No. So I asked the child, because generally क्या होता है POCSO के अंदर, it is not only sexual. With what I have learned as a counselor from different workshops, it is a physical, it's a psychological and emotional comes under. इसमें सिर्फ
Rachel.
parental penetrations या teachers these things are not there. It's the psychological abuses which teachers also generally give, so which affects the psychology of a child and वो भी affect करती है. अब चाइल्ड गेट्स टू नो, स्कूल में तो उसको अब उसकी प्रॉब्लम कुछ और है, टीचर उसको अब्यूज कर रही है बिकॉज शी इज नॉट परफॉर्मिंग वेल, वो लेबलिंग होता जाता है. तो लेबलिंग से क्या है, इट बिकम्स मोर ट्रॉमेटिक. वो बच्चे को समझ नहीं आता हाउ टू हैंडल. तो रादर देन मोटिवेटिंग द चाइल्ड टुवर्ड्स हर पर्सपेक्टिव और हर सक्सेस गोल, वो क्या होता है, उल्टा होना शुरू हो जाता है. देन द रोल ऑफ द काउंसलर, the role of the counselor comes if teacher approaches the
Yes.
it is very important. The teacher should, which generally never happen. It is only if the counselors are very work oriented and they do not want to waste their time in a office of her case आएगा, she should not wait for that. एक अंदर से just होना चाहिए. She should approach the classroom with different
No,
topics.
ma'am, if the counselor sorry for interrupting you.
Yeah.
If the counselor is there in-house, no, it is their duty to move in the classes and give the report.
So basically, it depends on the approach of the counselor.
Yes, the classes has to be approached by the counselor.
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Yeah.
Next
Ma'am,
question.
generally, yes,
That I have seen in schools, counselors are there for a certain reason and a purpose.
Yeah.
We cannot defeat that purpose by giving them teacher is absent, you can go and sit in the class and then interact with the children. That is giving you an opportunity to interact. No,
Yes.
the counselor has her own set agenda that she should be allowed to follow in the school. That is also another thing that I feel.
Very good point.
Absolutely.
The
Rightly
counselor
brought
moves,
out.
they
Now,
observe
I
the
would,
classes, they bring the report, and then they say that, ma'am, I want to call the parent to talk to them.
No, I just want to add on that case. I was telling you that girl. Then I got to know the penetration was happening, but it was not a proper penetration. It was a touching and all. Sometimes you feel that कि बच्चा जब हम hug करते हैं कई बार प्यार से, तो it can happen with the flow of we cannot judge that father was actually trying to do that thing. So I spoke to father. I spoke to mother also. Mother was telling कि child doesn't study at all, so father is very aggressive when he studies. तो इसको समझ नहीं आता है, ये है वो है. But I feel दो versions दे रही थी. Then I had to go into the deep, talking to parent again and again. Then I got to know there is not still now no rape or no penetration.
Absolutely.
Nothing was there, but the approach, because girl was going towards the teenage. So then I had to, but now the problem comes when you approach the principal regarding this case. Now principal is not letting this thing out. I'm talking in an open forum thanks to Suman and Somta, but when it is not to be given kind of a, so there is a inharmony between management and the counselor. So
that is precisely the thing. You see, it is not just about the disharmony between the school within also the parents, and there's a complete lack of sex education in our country. We have a problem in communicating things clearly, which I think is a fundamental problem why we have so many offenses in our society, sexual offenses in our society. Ma'am, could you take up the next question?
Yes, I would like to ask
some audience questions also, panelists. So we would love to take some audience questions, but we have two crucial questions before we go to the audience questions.
Yeah, I would like to ask Khushi. Khushi, what are the child-friendly provisions under this act? Because people feel very uncomfortable to report. So what are the child-friendly provisions available, and what is the process and channel of reporting the abuse as per recent amendments also?
Anyone who has any information on a child facing sexual abuse or sexual violence is required to report it to the nearest jurisdictional police station. So that's the first thing. And it's not only information. If they have suspicion or apprehension that a child is facing sexual abuse, needs to be brought to the notice of the jurisdictional police station. At the police station, the child is always required to be with the non-offending caregiver. The police officer is, first of all, the child doesn't need to go to a police station. The police officer is required to come to wherever the child feels comfortable. The complaint will get registered at the police station, but when they need to actually interview the child, that can be done at any place where the child is comfortable. And when that process is happening, there is a non-offending parent or anybody that the child trusts that needs to be mandatorily present. Unless the child says, "Nay, I don't want to speak in the presence of anybody. I want to speak directly one-on-one with the police officer." The police officer speaking to the child, if it's a girl, needs to be a woman not below the rank of a woman sub-inspector. One of the challenges, very few number of women police sub-inspectors that we have. So what we have done in the past is, even if there is a male officer that's speaking to the child, then it is done in the presence of a woman police constable or any other category of a woman police officer. The police officer interviewing the child needs to be in colored clothes and not in uniform, because we consider that a police officer is a scary person for the child. That's at the police station level. When the child is recording the statement before the magistrate under the Code of Criminal Procedure, this is to be done in the chamber of the magistrate. I'm not talking about the trial. This is just the child's statement before the magistrate. This is done in the chamber of the magistrate, and the magistrate cannot be in their regular overcoat, in their formal clothes, etc. Again, a parent is required to be present. Police officer cannot be present. And the statement is recorded in the language that the child knows and speaks. During the other procedures, there is a time frame within which POCSO cases are to be disposed of. The Act says that within 1 year, and with the latest amendment in 2018 and 19, they brought it down to 6 months, which is not at all happening. I can assure you that that doesn't happen at all.
We know.
But this is what the law says. The trial, and I say in nobody other than the judge, the child's caregiver, the accused, the defense lawyer are permitted to be present. So other lawyers, other litigants are not permitted to be present. The doors are shut and the trial is conducted in sort of in private. The accused, the child is not permitted, or the accused cannot be exposed to the child. So there is a screen that divides the child. All our courtrooms are pretty large. So there is a screen that prevents the child from seeing the accused, because being in the presence of the accused can intimidate the child or can influence the child to not give a coercive statement. So there is a screen that needs to be present. There are other things like the government has compensations which are paid to children and their families following the registration of a case. There are very good amounts, quantum of compensation that have been defined, but they're not getting dispersed very quickly. A family really gets into a lot of financial trouble because most of the cases that get reported are from lower socioeconomic strata. Abuse happens across the board, cross-cutting all socioeconomic strata. That once that get reported are from lower socioeconomic strata, they get stuck within the system. So there is compensations that are defined under Central Victim Compensation Scheme, which are to be ordered by the special court and which are to be dispersed by the Legal Services Authority. Unfortunately, this doesn't happen in a timely manner. Karnataka has an immediate compensation scheme called Abhayanidhi scheme, which is also a government scheme, where immediately 5,000 rupees is dispersed to the family. Maharashtra also has a scheme. Some states have some state schemes where the disbursement of the compensation happens a little quickly. But these are the things where we need to have a slightly more proactive system that responds to these cases. The National Commission for the Protection of Child Rights and the State Commission for the Protection of Child Rights are the bodies which are mandated to monitor the implementation of the POCSO Act. Now, these are the places where we continuously keep trying to push and advocate for a slightly more proactive role of the government. And this is still a work in progress. The system is not perfect, but it has come a long way from when we
Was nothing. Yeah.
No, at least the
the
development
last
is
10
there.
years that I've been working in the field, things
Was
have
nothing.
changed.
At
But
least the development is
yeah,
there. At
but
least
we're still a
awareness is
long
there.
way from
Awareness is there.
near perfect. Very quickly, I want to mention. Very quickly, I want to mention that convictions are very, very low because the punishments are very high. When a judge is going to convict someone for 5 years, 7 years, 10 years, or life imprisonment or death penalty, the burden of proof is very high on the prosecution. And in any sexual crime anywhere in the world, there is very, very little proof, or there are very few witnesses to these crimes. So higher punishments and death penalty is not the way to go. We need to improve the implementation of the existing act. I'd like to stop here.
Right. So I'm going to quickly take some comments from the audience and a question, and then we'll wrap up. So Rekha Lagu says, as rightly said by Khushi ma'am, families do not want to listen to their children through, though children are taught about good touch and bad touch in school, the parent is not willing to listen to them. They in fact reprimand the child for even talking about it. So yes, communication at home is poor. Another question is from Supriya. I would like to ask the panel, most of the parents expect only school to provide sex education, whereas some oppose such type of education. The debate is still on till date. How does a school deal with such situations? Don't you feel having parents on board for an orientation program will help? We have children from all backgrounds. We also have schools ranging from state schools to international schools. However, the thrust on sex education is not the same. Do we need to have a uniform curriculum and manner of conducting these talks and seminars for children and schools alike? So quickly, Kalpana, Shweta, I would like to have your perspective on this from the school's point of view. Starting with Kalpana.
Sayukta, it is done, but yes, the frequency is less. Like we choose PTM dates, along with the PTM we conduct such things. So definitely the frequency is less, and we should increase that.
Do you think they're effective enough for the parents to reach out to parents and change their mindsets and
Definitely,
outlooks?
definitely. I told her the progress is there, as Khushi ma'am told, that it's working, correct? But yes, not to that level, but it's progress we can see. At least awareness is there in the society now.
Absolutely. Shweta, what's your take on this?
Exactly. Orientations are the way to go about it. And it's very important to have them. At the same time, when we talk about sex education, I have seen in co-ed schools also, girls go in this room and boys go in this room, and thereafter when you're giving them the information, you are literally washing out the entire effort. So it's very important that boys and girls are seated together, listening to it, understanding what the girls are going through, what the boys are going through, and then having that kind of education, I feel, is the way out. And yes, we have come a long way. And orientations in school, as Kalpana is saying that they have it with the PTM, no. If we have appointed days and keep on having this on a regular basis, I think it will work better for the parents.
Shweta, yes, it is. But you know what? We also have a certain, fixed curriculum, and time schedules are there.
Time
So
crunch
it
is
becomes
there.
difficult. What I said and what I
Right.
mean, that is the time when we give to the parent. So we
Yes,
adjust it
for
accordingly.
educating parents.
Yeah.
But I
So,
would like to bring
they
in
make
Mukta
a-
and Khushi's perspective on this aspect now.
Huh.
The need
before
for a
we move ahead,
standardized.
Samita,
Yes.
before we move ahead, Khushi has rightly brought out, do we have child protection committee in our schools?
Yes,
We have.
yes,
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 yes.
yes, we have.
Schools have
POXO
that.
can.
Yeah,
It's
They all
mandatory.
have. The
But
committee
are the
is there.
children made
The
aware of
government
it?
is saying it's mandatory.
Yes.
What
See,
I
once,
want to add on, it's on registers.
Yes.
Because the
There's a
time crunch
difference
is there.
between it being on
Execution,
registers
yeah,
and
yeah,
execution.
yeah, it's on there.
Absolutely.
See,
But
let's don't get into school versus foundation versus counselor. I
No,
just
no, no.
wanted to bring it out like committee hai, अच्छी बात है, but are we aware? Are we functional? Is it functioning well?
It is.
Our
It
parents
is.
are
It is.
aware. Our
Yes, it
children
is.
are
Of
aware
course.
Because the
to where to
committee,
go and
See,
report.
this
this
having
is
this
displayed
POXO
actually.
Act has
It has
changed a
displaced.
lot of things. Because finally in the CBSE, I should
CBSE,
share
why?
this
Because
with
we.
you. See, the CBSE has laid down guidelines.
Yes.
On the
we have
basis
to.
of this POXO Act, CBSE also worked very fast, and they brought out guidelines, and they had proposed measures for the schools which they had to follow. So management and staff is supposed to be aware. Conduct of in-house induction sessions on gender sensitization is important.
mandatory.
It is needed, mandatory. They say self-defense for girls, but I always feel that boys also need to learn about it. And also police verification and psychometric evaluation of all staff
All
members.
staff, yeah.
All should be there.
All this has
This is
all
a
these
mandatory
guidelines
So,
has
so
been
coming
brought out
back
by
to my
CBSE.
last question for the evening, ladies,
Sure.
before we wind up, we are already much above time. So my question goes to Mukta and Khushi. Do we need to have a standardized curriculum for gender studies, gender sensitivity, and sex awareness, sex education? A continuous educational program, different classes, different levels of exposure and information involving parents. Do we need a more coherent and more intensive sex educational and awareness programs along with gender sensitization? Mukta, starting with you and going on to Khushi.
Yeah, definitely it should be there, and the frequency should be more, because as Shweta said, CBSE is encouraging us to do that. Lot many workshops also, and even Komal CD, if you are aware of.
Yes.
Yeah, so it is mandatory to show them,
Yes.
and it's a responsibility of all the teachers, because workshop is not only for the counselors, it is for all the teachers, that these things should be keep on talking, because आप first 10 minutes में अगर आप बच्चे को पूछ लेते हो first 5 roll numbers को कि how were you and how was your day yesterday, so some or the other way if they come out with the open forum with to speak to teacher, तो आपकी एक compatibility बन जाती है, तो उसकी जो problem होती है वो वहीं solve हो जाती है. And if it is above head, so teacher should definitely take out some time rather than gossiping in the staff rooms, or talking about the child. She should approach the right person, either principal, counselor, or whosoever is the committee is there. She should take a step to reach those and solve the problem of a child.
Khushi,
That's why discretion.
Yeah. It is. See, it is. So we should work for the nation, basically, and these
Humanity.
students are the
Actually,
asset for
humanity.
the nation, humanity, and
humanity.
Absolutely.
these are the assets
okay, I'd
for the
quickly like to
society.
take Khushi's case, ladies. We are like way over time.
So,
We have to wrap up.
we should stop calling it sex education. It's personal safety and sexuality education.
Right.
And it is not good and bad touch, because
Absolutely.
a child can enjoy the touch. It is safe and unsafe touch. So first of all, on this platform itself, I would like everyone to stop saying good and bad touch. It is safe and unsafe touch, and it is personal safety and sexuality education. And I think government schools are a little more proactive than private schools, because they are governed by they have to do certain things, so they do it. Private schools are very hard to get across to, and this is a work in progress, and we will keep banging our heads against this until it becomes mandatory. And when there is a situation, we've seen what has happened, when there is a situation that arises in a school, then all hell breaks loose. But it cannot be a knee-jerk reaction. It has to be an ongoing it has to be an ongoing engagement. I'm going to stop you. Thanks.
Thank you
Thank you
Khushi,
so
for
much.
bringing it up. Yeah. So thank you everyone for being with us and giving us such a wide perspective to us and to our viewers. And with this, we are taking your leave. Thank you once again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so
Thank
much,
you
our
for
panelists,
inviting
for
us.
joining us and for such an interesting discussion. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.